Pastor Roger and I met a real good friend while we were in college at Oklahoma Baptist University. And we became very, very close, like three amigos is what I call us. His name was Mike Miller. And Mike had a unique and wonderful insight to ministry, related particularly to discipleship, small groups, and growth like that. He kind of complemented the two of us in many ways with our various emphases in our ministry. We went to college together. We went to seminary together. Though he went to a different seminary, we were in the same town. And we just maintained that bond after college and through seminary, the whole time together. While we were there, of course, Pastor Roger had had a California experience. He'd been out here for about 3 years, and 2.5 to 3 years and serving here in Bakersfield. And he kept telling both Pastor Mike and myself about the opportunities in California, and we talked about it all the time. And a part of our discussion was, you know what? Why don't we get out of the Bible Belt? I don't know if you've ever traveled to Texas or Oklahoma or even further east, Tennessee, Kentucky, back in that part of the world, but there's literally a Baptist church on every corner. And there's great opportunities for ministry there, but why not go where you're not in the so-called Bible Belt? And Roger kept telling us about the opportunities here in the San Joaquin Valley, and he had a lot of connections out here after his 3 years here. So what happened, very quickly, I'll tell you the story, all three of us wind up in California. Pastor Roger becomes pastor of the First Baptist Church of Oildale, 800 Airport Drive here in Bakersfield. Pastor Mike Miller became pastor of the Hillcrest Baptist Church on Niles Street. And I became pastor of the First Baptist Church of Tehachapi, California. So here were all three of us, fresh out of seminary. We're all filled with vim and vigor, and we're leading these three churches. And all three of those churches begin to grow. All of them were seeing people saved. They were seeing people baptized. The small groups were growing, and there was just a fantastic atmosphere among all three of us. And we were sharing together constantly, Pastor Roger, Pastor Mike, and myself, what we were preaching. We were talking about sermon series together, and we were even preaching along the same lines. We would get together, we'd talk on the phone together all the time, constantly about, ministry and what each of us helping the other, and it was wonderful. And this went on for about 2 to 2.5 years, right at 3 years. And then something happened that forever changed Pastor Roger and Ginger's life and had a powerful impact upon me and Mike Miller in ministry. And that was that Pastor Roger's daughter was killed in an accident, a car accident, as she was going to back to school event and a night event. And it was just devastating, right? Here we were, young guys, we were out of seminary, and now Pastor Roger's walking through the valley of the shadow of death in a most unbelievable way. Pastor Mike was so good to Pastor Roger at that time. He was in Bakersfield, and he basically just stayed over at their house for 2 or 3 weeks and just did very practical things for Mike. And I've heard Roger talk about how he will never forget what Mike did for him during those troubled days. And then that brought us together, even closer. And then we began to talk among ourselves, the three of us, like, something like that happens and you're young, you start saying, what's life all about? What's ministry all about? What's my purpose plan in this world? It just shakes up your whole everything. And we began to talk about building a church together that could be a regional church that could impact not only Bakersfield, but the San Joaquin Valley, the state, and even the nation and the world. And we thought, what if we threw ourselves together? We put ourselves together in teamwork and build a church. And so Pastor Mike had a wonderful family in their church and became one of the leaders here at Valley. He had a condo up at Lake Tahoe. So we went up to that beautiful setting at Lake Tahoe, and we went up there with the idea of kind of a retreat, just the three families, to help Roger and Ginger, just a little getaway. But while we were there, we began to talk And then we continued our talks, and then we began to pray. And we said, what if we merged the church on Nile Street, which is now called, which was then called Hillcrest Baptist Church, with First Southern Baptist Church, Oildale. I come down from Tehachapi, and we jumpstart a new work by merging these churches, pooling our resources together, and sharing in the synergy of the work that we could do together. And now that took about a year and a half of praying and deciding and leadership, and that's exactly what we did. We put that together, and we started over on First Southern Baptist Church, Oildale. We changed the name of it to Valley Baptist Church. That was the first Sunday of December, 1985. And that has become our anniversary Sunday ever since. And this year, 2025, we're celebrating 40 years together.